We all have our guilty pleasures. I used to love the Daredevil movie, the Ben Affleck one, when I was a kid. And I was genuinely shocked when I later found out it was panned by critics. I know you all have one, because someone has to play that terrible Elder Scrolls Online for it to have this much of a long life. Some of you are lying. It might be a terrible anime that you secretly like, or maybe a bad movie, or even a bad book that you come back to every time. Today we will talk about some of the games that were panned by critics, but you know what? I love them. Okay, maybe not love, not for all of them, but at least I like them all. And some of them, I might say, are pretty underrated. In no particular order, we will go through them talking about some gameplay mechanics and even some story elements. So let's start with the first one. When the MCU was barely in its inception, it was still the late 2000s. Therefore, there were still licensed games adapting the movies. Needless to say, they were all panned by critics, maybe except the Captain America game, which is incredibly overlooked. But not bad technically, so it doesn't make the list. But please tell me I'm not the only one who likes the Iron Man game. Seriously, I feel like I'm the only one on the entire internet who likes these games. I wonder if there are some fans that are still playing the Thor game in 2026 raging about how it's underrated. Makes you think. So, Iron Man got 3 movies, and well, every movie received a game adaptation except the third one. And we are going to talk about the second game, because, well, that's the only one I played. The first one was not that different from what I could gather online, except the PC port, which is weirdly different and has worse graphics. Anyway, Iron Man 2 for PlayStation 3 was developed by Sega Studios, and does not follow the movie's plot at all, which is hilarious. The plot basically revolves around an evil general who does not appear in any of the movies to my knowledge, who steals Jarvis, Iron Man's AI or something, and you go from location to location fighting enemies to retrieve Jarvis. What's also weird is that you have a lot of characters from the movie returning, such as Black Widow, Nick Fury, War Machine, and so on. And they all have the likeness of the actors that played them in the movie, except some are voiced by the original cast, such as Samuel L. Jackson voicing Nick Fury.
You ready? Copy the living hell out of that.
And Don Cheadle voicing War Machine. But for some strange esoteric reason, Robert Downey Jr. does not voice Iron Man. But it looks like him. But it's a different guy voicing the character. It's all so needlessly confusing. Now that we've got the story and the presentation out of the way, let's talk about the actual thing that matters. Tearing up helicopters, and tanks, and robots, and the reason why I love this game so much, the gameplay. Imagine an Iron Man game, and how it would play. Well, that's exactly what this game is. It's not pretty or fancy, but it's cool. You get boring open maps, usually filled with enemies, and you get to use your arsenal to destroy enemies and fly around and, do cool shit. You get a variety of different weapons that you can also level up, which is done so confusingly that I didn't even use it. I don't got time for this. It feels so cool to sprint to the maps and blast rockets at multiple targets. And you can also play as War Machine, who has that machine gun which is neat and incredibly metal. You also have a few costumes that you can choose from, which is decent. Any comic book game should have at least 10 costumes that you can change into. And also, if I might say, for a 2010 game, the model for Iron Man looks pretty good. I always thought that this game looked pretty good back in the day. Also, it's pretty interesting how similar it is to Anthem. Even in the fact that you barely have anything to do other than random combat in a large area. But hey, at least Anthem had microtransactions, right? There are some sections where the developers put you in interiors, which is where the game falls apart mostly. The hand-to-hand combat is atrocious, and these robots are some of the most annoying enemies that you will ever encounter in a game, period. And, well, that's the game basically. Not the most well put together game out there. Nothing fancy or something. It's a pretty straightforward movie tie-in game. In this case with Iron Man, I understand the bad ratings and the reception it has gotten. I just can't help but love it sometimes. Seriously now, I do not recommend you play this game, and while replaying it, it baffles me that I liked it. Hey, what can I say? I'm weird like that. Like an armpit fetish guy, only with bad movie tie-in games. Our next title is one of the most ambitious games in this video. Yes, we are talking about Alone in the Dark, the 2008 one. If you're like me, a survival horror fan, you've heard here and there about Alone in the Dark. It was always dimly mentioned in the same conversation with other survival horror games. A somewhat shady cousin of Silent Hill or Resident Evil, which is weird because it predated both those games. Which begs the question, why it didn't find the same success other franchises inspired by it found. Since the original games back in the PlayStation 1 era, most folks didn't hear anything about the series, until recently when the beautiful 2024 game was released. Seriously, that game is incredibly underrated. You should play it now. And that's all most people heard about Alone in the Dark. Well, apparently there was a movie made by Uwe Boll.
Did you have a nightmare? My mommy says that there's nothing to be afraid of in the dark.
Your mother's wrong, kid. Being afraid of the dark is what keeps most of us alive.
And some games which never took off, and one of those games is Alone in the Dark, the 2008 one. Again, researching this game revealed that it also has a different PS2 and Wii version, which is a different game altogether, developed by a different team. It's wild how they literally used to order different games with the same name for different consoles. They really wanted that sweet cash from the last gen, I guess. Which is better in a way than holding off an entire generation with cross-gen titles. Fun fact, Prince of Persia Forgotten Sands has 4 different versions of the same game developed by 4 different teams. Those were some wild times. The version that we are going to talk about in this video is the PS3 one, which is actually slightly different from the PC and Xbox 360 one. It's also called Inferno, which made some slight improvements as it was released afterwards. But for the sake of our sanity, we will not differentiate the PS3 version from the Xbox and PC version, and we will refer to all of them. Developed by Eden Games and published by Atari, Alone in the Dark was released in 2008 to horrible reception. It also didn't help that Atari threatened legal action to any publication that put out a bad review, claiming that they did not provide the review code, therefore the reviewers were somehow illegally downloading an unfinished version of the game, while the reviewers refuted the claims and stated that Atari provided the review copies. But a day before the release of the game, they put out a notice that only positive reviews of the game can break the embargo. Therefore, they refused to remove the reviews. Nothing came of it, and Atari never followed up on their threats, so that's that, I guess. This game is such a weird, ambitious piece of media, and I'm shocked how bad it did. As I've said before, I don't recommend Iron Man, as it is an objectively bad game. But in this case, I absolutely recommend anyone that is at least a survival horror fan play this game. This game has some wild ideas that are all over the place, but I can honestly say there's no other game like this one out there. First of all, you have a mechanic where you need to manually blink. Second of all, let's stop and discuss what I've just said. Full stop. You have a mechanic where you need to manually blink. And yes, it's just the opening part of the game, but it still says a lot about this game. Okay, now let me throw another wild mechanic out there. You can break about any wooden door in the game with a melee weapon, or even shoot the lock. Matter of fact, you can light the chair on fire, so then you can light the fire on a piece of wood that is blocking the way, with the flames from the chair you've just set on fire. There are so many mechanics that are so ambitious in this game that I've never seen used in any other games. Let me shock you again, you have rope physics. Boom, mind blown. 12 years before Last of Us 2. The story of the game is quite convoluted, but basically you play as Edward and is being thrown in the middle of season 6 of a show that he knows nothing about. The first level is wild. We get to escape this burning skyscraper in New York, while zombies and the mysterious force destroy the building. A long story short, Edward alongside 2 companions escapes a destroyed New York in a cab to Central Park, where most of the game takes place in. We found out that there is a stone, which Edward gods, that some cultists are after, and well, I'm not going to spoil the story. I still recommend that you play this one for yourself. What I like about this game is how obsessed the developers were about trying to make every aspect of the game special. Like, look at this inventory system. Also, the health indicator is literally how damaged you are. No health bar, just Wolverine style. You can also call characters and use your phone. You also need to set enemies on fire to permanently eliminate them. Oh, and also the game is playable in both first person and third person mode. And besides the usual shooting that you find in a survival game, you can also pick up all kinds of weapons from the ground, like chairs and lamps and the samurai sword that you can use to kill your enemies. You even have an indicator on which weapons are flammable. You can also combine items that you find along your journey to create molotovs and so on, a mechanic that is not very well explained, to be honest. You also have drive-in sections, which are cool and I don't care what anyone says. The puzzles are also very interesting and they combine every mechanic in the game. For the love of God, please play this game. How much more can I glaze it before you do so? You can find it on Steam for around $11. I really think this game was misunderstood at the time. And yes, I didn't like how every chapter is presented as a DVD chapter that you can skip and so on, and yes, the game is very janky, but I think that the team should have been allowed to build upon what they created with Alone in the Dark. The team was later shut down and the IP was put on hold for almost 20 years. Such a shame. Speaking of survival horror, my next game is another survival horror title. Silent Hill is not only my favorite horror game series, it's one of my favorite things ever. I've played them all several times, and while I do share most of my enthusiasm with the fanbase, I truly believe that they are wrong about Silent Hill Downpour. Not only do I believe that the game is not bad, I think it's objectively a good game, and I think it's the best game in the series after the original quadrilogy, except Silent Hill Remake, of course. And yes, that also includes the most recent Silent Hill F. I also think that Silent Hill Homecoming is underrated, but it's still a bad game, while I think that Downpour, which is rated as the worst game, is a good game. Also, I don't think it helps that the game is stuck on the PS3 and Xbox 360. The game was developed by Vetro Games and published by Konami and released in 2012. The story follows Murphy, a prisoner who is transported in a prison bus, or whatever it is called, to another prison, but the bus crashes and Murphy makes his way through Silent Hill. This might be one of the darkest stories in the Silent Hill franchise, and that says a lot. It really is that dark, and I suggest that you install a PS3 emulator and play it for yourself. Also, your choices really matter in this game as well. While Silent Hill was explored in several games, this was the first and only Silent Hill game to feature proper side quests. One of the best examples is the Reborn side quest. You find a missing person poster for an 8-year-old girl whose mother had tied colored ribbons around town to help her find her way home. So you start following them through the streets, slowly, retracing the final journey of a missing child. There's barely any combat or exposition. It's just a small, tragic ghost story hidden inside the town, and it feels more like classic Silent Hill than people give this game credit for. The other world is incredible as well. While I also dislike the rushed chase scenes, my main criticism is that the world is so wonderfully crafted that you don't have the time to breathe it in, because you are getting chased. Is that really such a bad of a criticism? Look, I understand some of the criticism. The combat can be clumsy, the monster designs are nowhere near as memorable as the original games, and the performance on consoles was rough. But those problems don't erase how atmospheric the town is, and how ambitious the side quests are, or how much the story changes depending on the way you play Murphy. Look, I really don't understand the bad reception for this game. I understand the bad reception for each game in this video, but I literally cannot understand how Downpour is considered the worst Silent Hill. It's beyond me, and I will never stop defending this game. Alright, our next game might be also the weirdest game in this video. Let me ask you this, did you like the new James Bond game? Well, then you must love the Hitman games. Who doesn't? Well, the same team also made Kane and Lynch, while taking a break from Hitman between Blood Money and Absolution. I never played the first one, but I absolutely love the second one. I will fight every one of you to defend this game. Kane and Lynch 2, developed by IO Interactive and published by Eidos Interactive, was released in 2010 to again pretty horrible reception. And before we start, I absolutely recommend this game to anyone. It's short as well, so you can play it in an afternoon if you're bored. The game follows the two protagonists, Kane and Lynch, while they try to escape Shanghai, after they accidentally kill the daughter of Thanos of Shanghai. Seriously, this dude has hundreds of henchmen ready to slide off for their boss. And of course I should have added a warning if you are epileptic, because this game makes you nauseous. The camera shakes all the time and there are a lot of lens flares. I wasn't exactly sure why this was the case or why the game is called Kane and Lynch when we only play as Lynch. Well, apparently in the first game you only play as Kane and, well, the game looks normal, while in the second game the game looks weird because Lynch is a schizophrenic maniac and we see the world through his lens. The art style is top notch and this game looks amazing for its time. And the setting is also so original, a gritty dark game placed in Shanghai. The story is pretty simple. I could give you a recap of the first game, but I never played it, and I still enjoyed the second game. So maybe you should experience it with the same complete lack of context. 4 years after whatever happened in the first game, Lynch calls Kane to Shanghai for an arms deal. Things immediately go wrong after they accidentally kill the daughter of the city's most powerful crime boss, and the next 5 hours are basically one long increasingly disastrous attempt to escape. At some point Lynch and Kane and Lynch's girlfriend are captured, giving us one of the most iconic scenes of the series, where both Kane and Lynch are being tortured by literally 1,000 cuts, bare ass, covered in blood. They don't make rated M games like this anymore, I swear. And famously, the game just ends after Kane and Lynch take off in a plane. This made a lot of critics mad at the time.
What the fuck? I'm sick of games ending so fucking poorly! Stop it! Stop pissing us off!
But I find it so funny that the game just ends, like, thank you for playing, now fuck off. Go play Hitman or something. It's all so stylized and cool, like a Quentin Tarantino movie. Also, the gameplay is cool and satisfying. The gunplay feels crisp, and you have a pretty good variety of weapons for how short the game actually is. Also, the dialogue is funny as fuck.
So, how'd you like Shanghai, Kane?
It's fucked. I hate it.
Yeah, I love it too. You know you can get your hair washed and a shag for 51. Bloody brilliant. Yeah, I'll take you out sometime. This town was built for people like us.
Play this game now, I beg you. Maybe we can get a third one in the future. You can find it on Steam for $10 nowadays. Let's get to our next game. Now for this one, I might get flamed, but I'm ready. I've been ready to stand my ground on this one for a minute now. Guys, I'm sorry, but Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is not that bad. Actually, it's a pretty good game. And yes, I know it's so different from the first game, which is one of, if not the best RPGs ever made. I know that the team was removed mid-development and that the Chinese room had to redo the game and they are known for walking sims. But you cannot tell me that Still Wakes the Deep is not one of the most incredible horror games of this generation. And yes, this is not an RPG and I do agree that it shouldn't be called Bloodlines 2. That being said, this game is incredible. The story follows Fire, an elder vampire who randomly wakes up in a building with a voice in her head that comes from another vampire who is also a detective. From there you'll have to navigate the politics of the Masquerade and the vampire nobility of Seattle. The combat is actually top notch with so many powers to choose from. You can go as a brawler if you are boring and most likely gay. But if you are cool like me and very obviously straight, you go as a silent, pick enemies apart one by one assassin. This game made me feel like I'm a real vampire just toying with my prey. And what also helps is the incredible city and art design of this game. Oh my fucking god, I love the setting for this game so much. The snowy roofs of Seattle are so atmospheric and cool. If you like Let the Right On In, you can absolutely cosplay as Ellie, feeding on innocent folks in dark alleys, and then immediately jump to the roof. The traversal system is so cool, the best traversal system and combat in any vampire game ever made. I'm ready to throw hands with you about this game.
Fight back, nigga! Fight back!
You can wall run on buildings, you can jump very high from roof to roof, you can grab ledges, and so much more. Also, the story itself is pretty interesting. The detective parts are very well done, and the jump from time period to time period really works. The characters are well written. Look, I just think this is an incredible game that was very much hurt by the IP that was slapped to it. And yes, I know that the side quests are bad and shallow and meant to draw out the game's length. And yes, I think that the main villain doesn't work as intended. And also you should have more classes to choose from. And yes, the choices that you make doesn't affect the ending of the game. But again, this is not an RPG. This is an action-adventure game. Just know this before going into it. Please give this game a chance. I love the first Bloodline so much, you can see it by watching my other videos. But that doesn't mean I cannot appreciate what this game does best. I was so shocked by the negative reception. I hope this hidden gem will receive the cult classic treatment that it deserves. So these are some of the bad games that I like, my guilty pleasures. Let me know what your guilty pleasure is in the comment section. And maybe we can do a video about good games that I didn't like. I don't think I would survive that one. So like and subscribe if you like this video, or don't, I don't care, but please do.